Saints Talk listeners, what's up? We back another week. This is Saints Talk, the official podcast of NewOrleans.Football. As always, I'm your host, Kevin Washington. I'm here with Nick Underhill, the man behind NewOrleans.Football. Make sure you guys go check out the site. Check out the site, NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. Pick a tier, pick the one that works best for you, and be great, man. It's that simple. Film study articles on the site now, post-game articles on the site now, more stuff coming between now and when the Bears game starts. So just go check it out. Make sure you guys follow Nick on Twitter at Nick_Underhill. Follow the NewOrleans.Football Twitter account at NODOT Football. YouTube, ratings, Instagram, anything you do, man. Anything you do to support the site. We appreciate it. Nick, how you doing? What's up?
Just hanging in there, man. That's all you can do in 2020. We're hanging in there.
Yeah, man. Just double masking up. It's like the stakes are high. Yeah, man. No, I feel you. I feel you. So this week, the Saints, they just beat the Panthers in what was a close game. It was a really close game. It was a little closer than I thought it was going to be. And we're going to review it. We're going to talk about some of the things the Saints did well, some of the things the Saints did not do well, and yeah, we'll break it down. So let's get started. Secondary.
Oh,
Nick,
you're going right at it.
Man, listen, we're not here to play no games. We're not here to play no games. Let's get the elephant in the room out the way. And let's what's going on? What's going on with these guys?
It's a little bit mystifying that we're still talking about this, and the story hasn't really evolved at all.
Right.
It just keeps going every week. There's these mistakes and they aren't going away. I mean, let's start out. We'll give them some credit. There's some things in this game you can go through and you can pick them out that in previous weeks they weren't doing well. And now they fix those things, like the cover in the backside cornerback covering deep on a cover 3 play against a specific route combination. They blew that earlier in the season with Patrick Robinson. Janoris Jenkins got it right this week. So that's a sign of progress. Early in the season, they couldn't defend bootlegs, and you see the one heat check every game, and it's like, oh, okay, they're defending these well now, so we aren't going to run them again.
Right.
So there are points of emphasis, and you see them moving forward with them, but they're still blowing cover 2s and just basic things that can't keep happening at this point with a team that's this talented, players that have been around for a while.
Yeah.
Guys making new mistakes in year 3, year 4 of their career. It doesn't add up. Yeah. And you're coming out of the bye, and it's like you can't fix cover 2 coming out of the bye. It's not a good place to be right now. And at this point, they have the players to fix it. I still believe in the talent. I still think that they can be a good team. I think much like the offense, there could just be that clicking point.
Yeah.
And then from there forward, it gets better every week. But I don't think that they've quite reached that point yet, at least visually. Like, you held a team to 23 points. Sure, that's fine. But you gave up a 74-yard touchdown. Your red zone defense is still shoddy.
Worse than this, I think.
Yeah, this stuff can't. That's side rant here. Like the whole they're a bad red zone defense. When you're a bad red zone defense, you're usually bad in the other 80 yards of the field too.
Yep.
So they aren't a good defense, and I think they can be. I think they have the players, but it's not there right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. The thing that's jarring to me, and I guess this gives you some hope about it, but it's also really hard to digest it, is that they're bad across the board. It's not like you're not getting to go play out the slot, right? And teams are exploiting that. Like, they're just bad, right? They're just bad, I think. And, I'm not, we don't have to call out individual players. I think guys know, we know who's struggling, but I mean, you're just not getting good play, anywhere. And so traditionally, I would say in past years, there's been times where the defense started slow, maybe for the first 2 or 3 games, maybe 4 at most. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but then you would see them pick their play up, right? They would just kind of get into the swing of things. But, at this point, they're 4-2, they're going into, and, they play 6 games. They had 1 bye. They're going into week 8, I think, right? I always forget what week it is. And it's still, they're still not playing well. And so at some point you are what you are. I'm not there yet with this defense, but at some point the leash is going to run out and they're going to have to start playing better, right? And I know Coach Payton in his interview, I think it was the Coach's Show interview he did, he said that, there are a handful of teams in the league this year where they're starting, they're still getting revved up because of the type of offseason it was, but there are some teams that's playing well, and that it wasn't affected. And he says they're one of the teams that are still trying to get better, right? And so I thought that was a good point, just that, at some point, you are what you are. And the good news is that they've been able to win in spite of some of this stuff. But I think eventually, when you got to stop a team on the goal line to win a game, or hold a team to maybe not let them drive down the field and get a field goal to win the game, that's going to come back and bite them eventually.
Yeah, the other thing too, Peyton, the $6 million question comment, I don't think that was specifically directed at anyone. I think that was
some weird math, man. That was funny.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's a guy from an era that, he grew up in the era of the $6 million man show and the $64,000 pyramid show. And I think it was just a mixed metaphor,
Yeah.
The whole thing about Marcus Williams, his contract, $6 million. No, he wouldn't be mad about a $6 million rookie contract. That's not, you wouldn't consider that guy a $6 million player. He's a second round pick. He's cheap. He's a cheap player.
$1.7 million player.
that was like a wild reach. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I hit over the cap right away and was looking to see what's Malcolm's average annual salary? What's everybody's? No, I mean, but it was just, I think it was just a mixed metaphor, and I don't think that would be a really
of it until people did, and I was like, man, people are really investigative, man.
That was it was an incredible, the whole Marcus thing. I was like, wow, this is an incredible reacher, guys. This is,
man.
Yeah. You would not call him the $6 million player. No. He's a second round pick. He's on a rookie contract.
And he's called out guys by their name before, right? Yeah. And there's a point when he's willing to call you out by your name, right? We've seen him do it before, and if you get him to that point, he'll go there, right?
Yeah, he's atting you on Twitter, we're beyond, there's no hiding from it. Sean's dropping bars daily everywhere, so I'll give him that. Look, if the $6 million thing was a specific some shot at somebody, that's amazing. But I don't think that person was Marcus Williams, at least not in the context of his rookie contract. I don't know if somebody asked for a $6 million per year contract, and that was I don't know, but
that's a wild take, man.
Yeah, it was just he just said it, and then everybody was like, who's he talking?
Who makes $6 million? Yeah, I think. Let me look. Marcus is a target right now for people.
For quarterbacks.
Yeah, quarterbacks and the fans. Probably more so quarterbacks. He's just not playing well, right? We don't have to beat around the bush. Marshawn isn't playing well. Gardner Johnson isn't playing well. I mean, just as a whole, they're not playing well. Coach AG, he spoke about it today. He said, I guarantee that we'll fix it. And I guess we'll see. But right now,
he needs to. They need to. I don't know who's to blame for it, but somebody needs to get it together. The play. I think it's everybody. I think everybody has their hands are all a little bit dirty. I mean,
Yep.
I think he's a good coach. He's regarded as a good coach. I've never heard anybody that's played for him say anything negative about his approach. He's beloved generally by his players. You can typically tell who the players like, and who they don't like. And he's someone that has a lot of fans, and he still has fans among people that, played for this team and left. They still speak highly of him.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is, though, they aren't playing well, and the corrections aren't happening fast enough. And again, you alluded to this earlier, the offseason, I think some teams treated September like it was training camp still, and they were still trying to get up to speed. And you kind of alluded to that with the Peyton comment. So I don't know at what point you hit that line and there's no longer any room for grace and patience.
Right. The excuse expires at some point, right?
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of you hit the bye, what the issues are, fix them during the bye, come out and be good to go. And again, I will say that I do think overall that this game was better than the other ones. There were only a few. Look, there was one guy that had a handful of mistakes. Gardner Johnson had several mistakes. Scheme-wise, So like, I think you need to divide the two categories.
Yeah. That's a good point. Go ahead.
Like the scheme wise, the team wide bust, I felt like were more condensed in this game. There was really only the one, whereas in other games there were like two or three.
Right.
Sometimes they were getting away with them. Like it wasn't always a completion. Like there was one against the Chargers that they almost lost on, and they were lucky to get a quarterback hit to save the play. But
Yeah.
so there'd be a few every game in the red zone. Somebody was running free, somebody running deep for a huge gain every game. I didn't see it as often in this game. The thing I saw in this game was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson having bad eyes, covering the slot and zone, and just not getting it done in the zone stuff. And I think he's a good player. I think he more often than not makes a positive impact. His tackling is a huge benefit for the team. But there have been a handful of plays where when he's in space and he's watching a zone, he gets caught looking at the quarterback, and there's just people running right by him.
Coach AG actually brought up the point that he has to work on his eye discipline. I mean, it's funny you say that, because Aaron Glenn said that in the interview. He's like, he gets caught with his eyes on the quarterback instead of his eyes on the guy who he's responsible for in coverage, and it leads to, some mental breakdowns on the field. And, he says, these guys are, they're trying to force the big play instead of letting it come to them. So
he gave up the touchdown against Las Vegas like that, watching the backfield, let the tight end get out. He had two plays like that in this game. Like there's just a few concentration plays or eyes, whatever it is. Like he's not executing that assignment well. And I think that's something that I think he can fix it. I think he just needs to become aware of it and just not stare at the quarterback and make sure that there's better awareness around him. I don't think it's, something that's a fatal flaw. They just got to figure out how to fix that. The other thing, and we talked about this live on review, I thought it wasn't as bad live. Like, yeah, I mean, they got Robbie Anderson on him a lot in the slot and man looks. There was only really one of those that felt bad. The other one, it was like 6 yards, 8 yards, deep. Like in general.
Oh, you mean the one that was bad, the one where you got the DPI?
Yeah, and then he gave up a big completion on a slant too, and I felt like I just felt like it's like he like looped into his coverage. It wasn't as direct.
Oh yeah. I think he was expecting a pick from DeMario on that play, and he kind of like because I think Robbie Anderson kind of shuffled his feet a little bit, and he just bought it, and then he was running free down the middle of the field. I know that play.
It just wasn't as clean as it needed to be. But the other catches, it was like, all right, he's getting beat. But like I think if like if I were like AG or somebody grading the film, I would just kind of look at those ones and be like, all right, and you move by it. Like there's really nothing. It's just like, all right, he got beat by a good player for 6 yards. It's not the end of the world. The thing that hurt about those is when the Saints blitzed, and they didn't blitz often in this game, but when they did blitz, that was the outlet almost every single time. And it was like you see Cam barreling in, and Robbie's wide open. You see DeMario barreling in, Robbie's wide, like not wide open, but he's winning this matchup. He can body this guy out, and that was the issue. But like those plays, it's just like, all right, you just kind of move on from it, and it can be better. But it's the zone plays that I was looking at where it's like, man, this isn't great. Like the other plays, it's just like, all right, guy got beat in the slot by Robbie Anderson. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't know if Patrick Robinson's defending those a million times, but like it just wasn't a good matchup for him. But I don't know. I don't think P-Rob's the answer there. Like, I think if you're fixing that matchup, you're sending Marshawn in the slot with him. You're sending.
That's my question. Like, who you got Marshawn and you got Janoris Jenkins. Like, other than Moore, who are you scared of to where one of these guys are not covering? Because Robbie Anderson's been a good player all year. He didn't get good this game, right? And so, look, I'm not questioning the defensive play call. And I think DA has been making some really good calls this year, and they've not been executed, right? I think the blitz in the first drive where Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had a beeline to, I mean, if I posted like a screenshot of the play, it's like a sack 99% of the time, but Gardner-Johnson didn't play the outside shoulder of Teddy. He played the inside, and Teddy just spent around, and then he converted the first down. That should have been a sack on the first drive, right? So
that's such a frustrating play to watch.
Oh gosh, man, that play drove me nuts. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, and then what I did was I rewound it, and I just left it at the steal, and I was like, there's no way you can't convince me that this isn't a sack, right? And this is not Russell Wilson back there. So it just plays like that. I think it's just some technique things, some eyes. I don't know. I mean, not to barrel down on one player, but I think he is part of the problem right
They're
now.
all I think everybody on the defense is part of the problem, really. I mean,
Yeah, some more than others, but I think
name one
that's
guy
fair.
besides David Onyemata that's playing up to what you would expect them to be.
I ain't got nothing for you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's just how it is this year. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's playing well every time they play. I'm like, wow, David earned his contract today.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And I don't know if it's all their fault. Teddy
I
threw
think part of
six.
it is, and Coach Payton mentioned it today, I think it was yesterday, that, maybe sometimes the pass rush is not getting a chance to establish itself due to coverage. He said that he kind of alluded to it. He didn't say it directly. I think you could read into it. I think there's some validity there, but I also don't think that the pass rush has been like just great bolt up beast of a part of this team ready to just explode as soon as they start covering better. I don't think that's the case neither. But I think there could be some validity there because you do see, for the most part, guys are open relatively quick, right? Robbie Anderson was getting open pretty quick this game. There was a lot of short sets that these offensive tackles were running because they knew the ball was coming out quick, and they was able to exploit that.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 16 passes in 2.5 or less. So I mean, there isn't much you can do there. But
Yeah,
I
mean,
but
so
at the same time, it's not like you're looking at it and like they're reaching to knock on the door and the door just opens before it's, a lot of times there isn't anyone there. Like, it's not as frequent. Like, even the opportunity for pressure isn't as frequent as it used to be. So I think it's gotten better. Is this, I think it took a few weeks and I think it's a little more active. I don't think this game is a great example, but I felt like they were reaching for the door more often in this game than they have been in other games. The Chargers game, obviously, being the exception, where I thought the pass rush was finally what it was supposed to be. But I do think it'll ramp up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the coverage has to be better. They need to get a handful of plays where there's 3 seconds and it's not 3 seconds and someone's like, they need to create some harder reads for quarterbacks. And that just starts with being more sound. I do think that the outside corners played better in this game than
I do too. I think Marshawn was like for the most part, his man coverage was. I mean, it wasn't. I'm not making a big deal out of it, but it wasn't anything where you looked at the film and said, "Okay, well."
he had an unremarkable game, which is good.
That's what yeah, that's a good
The
point.
ball
Same
really
thing with,
wasn't coming his way. The couple times someone made a catch on him, it didn't stand out. Like,
yeah, I think the Saints. I've seen this is kind of. I remember it happened during the Raiders game, Las Vegas Raiders, and it kind of happened again this game where one guy is consistently beating you, and it's just I kind of adopt the Belichick way of thinking where he's like okay, Mike Thomas is not going to beat us. Tre'Quan Smith is going to beat us. Marquez Callaway is going to beat us. Willie Snead is going to beat us, right? It's not going to be Michael Thomas, and you just don't let their best player like destroy you. And I've seen that happen a couple of times, and I do think that the Saints are somewhat confident in their guys, which you should be, right? You paying them their starters, and that's who you're running with. But sometimes I think you got to give a guy some help, right? If a guy is not winning that matchup, and so that's something that I like kind of pay attention to, right? Like as this game was going on, I was like, okay, like how are they going to limit this guy? Because Chauncey can't cover, he can't stop him in the slot, right? It was clear from the early that wasn't going to be a match that the Saints were going to win, and so I just think that's an area where things could be maybe a little bit better.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
but I mean, they should be a team that should be able to play sides and put a guy in the slot. If he wasn't busting those zones in the one slant like the other plays, like I said, I don't think they were terrible. Like, you could have got away with it, but it's just you're busting coverages, you're busting a coverage deep. The weird thing about this game is the 74-yard touchdown. Like, if that doesn't happen,
oh, you went out for a second.
All right, let's just keep going because I think it's all right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. We'll fix that. I'll cut it out. Go ahead.
The weird thing about this game, though, is that the 74-yard touchdown, that play aside, like the rest of the game wasn't that bad, except for maybe 3 plays by Gardner Johnson, and the coverage otherwise was okay. So
Mhm.
it might be a step forward, but it's still not there. And that one play is the one play you can't give
That
up.
one
So
play is like, yeah. And
it's
the thing
so
about it
brutal,
is,
man. And it's part of like it's part of a trend. So until you
yeah,
buck that trend, you're gonna hang
yep,
on to the one play because it's just like, here they go again. But
right.
like I said, there are little signs of improvement. So
But here's the thing:
I maintain hope.
you made the point earlier where you said like until about remember you was talking about it throughout the year at the start where if you can't cover a bootleg, they're going to keep giving
Right.
you that litmus test, and until they show that they're not going to be busting coverages, teams are going to test them deep, and
There were
that's just yeah.
there were a couple plays in this game, and you saw Teddy like when they were showing a 2 safety shell, like
Mm-hmm.
they were going deep because they were
Yep.
playing zone, and they were like,
Mm-hmm.
Teddy knew, like he's just like, I'm
Yeah.
going to take the shot and see. I
Yep.
don't know if it was Teddy, it might have been Joe Brady, whoever. Somebody called up a deep shot, and
Yeah.
he just threw it. He just threw it, and there was one like it was late in the game, and the dude wasn't even open, but like they just threw it because it's like, well, they might bust us, they might commit a DPI, so let's
DPI,
see
they are
what
top team
happens.
in the DPI in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Now you got. I think it was one deep shot they threw. He threw to. I think it was Robbie Anderson, and it was a deep shot, and Marshawn was covering him. And I mean, if I'm a quarterback, I'm like, man, the Saints like to interfere. let, let me see if they're in the mood.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's what happened.
yeah, it is. It's going to happen every week. So they
Yeah,
need to be more organized. Like the book's out on them at this point. You got
it,
you got to
it
cover
is.
that
It
stuff.
is. It is. All right, I've been a bad podcast host. We gave you guys like 22 minutes of like negative, negative Saints talk, but that's the state. That's the biggest problem with this team right now, right? I think if you get the secondary fixed, I do think right. Look, Davenport's his reps are gonna increase. He he's not playing bad. He's still on the snap count. I think this game he was doubled on like around 4. I think he had 18 rushes. He was doubled on 4 of them. About another 3. He kind of had someone, they're kind of creating some traffic around his rush. He had a couple of pressures on about 10 real rushes, which, if you extrapolate that out, that'd be a good season. That'd be a 20% pressure rate. Obviously, that'd be Pro Bowl level. But, I still think he's still coming back. And I think the pass rush also is going to have to get better. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. None really. But, I think Cam still hasn't looked like Cam. I think, like you said, Onyemata is the one guy who you could say looking good. Rankins, he'll flash a couple of plays a game, make you think he's like, doing something. He had that run stop where he kind of looked really quick and stopped the run. But for the most part, those guys have to play better. They did stop the run well this game, though. So
I wish
you
everybody was playing better around him because I feel like it's hard to evaluate Rankins right
Rankins
now, and
or
especially Rankins, especially because like with the shoddy coverage, like he
mm,
doesn't need he needs to be able to get in there, like
yeah,
quarterback's throwing it quick, and you see him coming if the coverage bad, like that. There's just no opportunity
mm-hmm,
really for him to get in there. Like you see
yeah,
it against the run more than the pass. So I
that's
don't know
true.
if
That's
that
a good
if
point. That's a
I
good
don't know
point.
if he's I don't know. I just don't feel like I can really look at him and get a grasp on his pass rush at this point. But
I feel you. I feel you. He
there
looks
are
better. He looks better than he did last year, though. I
he
think. I
does.
think.
Oh, he does. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he looks quicker. Yeah. Yeah. I just think I do. I think the coverage again. I think the coverage is holding the team back. I think DeMario is going to look better. Cam, Marcus, David, everybody's going to look better. I think if they get those problems on the back end fixed. And because if you don't, it's just that team's going to quick game you to death,
Yeah.
or they're going to wait for you to bust a 78-yard touchdown. So,
Yeah.
all right. So there was some good in this game.
Was
The
it
Saints
78?
did
I keep saying 74. Was it
78,
78?
76. It was 74, 78, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Those 70 some yard touchdown.
It was too many damn yards. All right. So the Saints won this game, and they had a pretty good offensive showing. I think they were 12 for 13 on third downs. I think it's safe to say Drew had his best game of the year. So take the wheel. What did you offensively this game, right? What did you think that they did this game that, allowed them to have that good third down percentage, run the ball well, be effective without Sanders and Thomas? Like, what happened this game? Why were they so good this game?
It was 74.
74. I was trying to like draw out the top. I was like, he's looking it up. You're like, oh, you have to know.
So I think the thing that benefited him in this game, and I think it really helped with the guys going out too, is that it was just kind of a static defensive approach. You kind of know they're going to play zone the whole game. And I think even when you lose your guys, I don't know if that drastically, I don't think you're throwing everything away because you're just kind of trying to find ways to get guys open and zone and sit in these softer spots in the defense. So, I mean, it does, obviously it hurts to lose Mike Thomas. It hurts to lose Emmanuel Sanders, but I just the style of game I think was beneficial for that. And Callaway did a really good job. He had a good feel for it. I think they did a good job with, Deontay Harris using his quickness to kind of split those zones on some outbreaking stuff a little bit further down the field. Traquan played well. Alvin's a magician. I think there's still way too many plays on offense where it's kind of like we're going to give the ball to Alvin and we're going to live or die with his ability to run the ball.
That 3rd and 14 was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, did he like what?
the reliance on him is, it's great to have him, but it's just sometimes it feels every now and then it's like, well, either Alvin's going to get this done or nobody's going to get it done. And I guess it's better to have that guy than to not have him. So,
Man,
whatever.
That contract negotiation looks real crazy. It was like,
I was trying to say it.
Get a man 15, man.
I said it all summer, man. Like,
let's redo this contract. You said that he's underpaid.
Like that was my whole take on it the whole time. Is if he signed before he hit the market, he was going to be paid less than he's actually worth. But he got a security. If he
hit the market right now, he's getting 17.
The flip side though is maybe you end up like McCaffrey and you don't play, and
Yeah, now McCaffrey's the one that's hurt, right? Crazy how that works.
But yeah, I mean, look. I think this game I don't think Sanders can play because I'm not positive on this.
2 games.
Yeah, well, Sean mentioned he had he wasn't feeling good, so that makes it sound like he was symptomatic. And I think if you're symptomatic, you got to miss 10 days. You got to stay away for 10 days. So that would put him out of this game.
And then test positive afterwards or something weird. Yeah,
we'll see on Mike. I think that's still up in the air. The injury is legit. Like that talking point's got to stop. The injury is legit. He has a legitimate hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to put that. Like that's just a bad talking, but there's a lot of bad talking points. The idea that he's faked an injury it's just not accurate. Like he has a legitimate injury. So
yeah.
But anyhow, if those guys can't play, I think this game will be a better litmus test on what Callaway and everybody else can do, because they'll actually have to beat some more man coverage in this game.
Bears, yeah, that's true. They play zone and man, but yeah.
It's a little, it's none versus some. You know what I mean? So these guys are gonna have to be able to get open off the line a little bit more in this game instead of just sitting in between a linebacker and a safety or whatever. So Callaway did a lot of that at Tennessee. He was a cover one beater there. He got deep a lot. So there is some stuff there, but I just think that this game is going to be a little bit harder of a test for those guys if they're leaned upon to be, the guys in this game without the other two.
Yeah. I think the offense this game, I think the best thing that they did was possess the football. I think that is one of the best ways that they're going to be able to win games this year, because, it goes for every team, right? But the fewer defensive snaps you have to play, the better. I think the Saints' first 2 drives, I feel like it took a quarter, right? Collectively, I know when the Panthers got the ball for the first time, it was like halfway through the first quarter. So, I think offensively, that's something that, at least until the defense gets better, I think that's something that they're going to have to do, and that's the style of football that they're going to have to play. And it puts a lot of pressure on them because they have to convert third downs and all these things. And it's just you have less margin. You have your margin of room for error is smaller when you have to play football like that. So, but it turned out well. This game, I think, it's been getting better over the course of weeks. I think we obviously remember the Drew Brees talking point at the beginning of the season as he washed up. We never bought into that. Proud to say we just said, hey, let's just watch it and give it some time, which I think was the right take. So, offense.
So you wouldn't have gone on, I don't know, a nationwide sports show watched by millions of people after seeing Brees throw 20 passes and decide that was it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna forget about the other 20 seasons of 2 games.
That was
Just
so
doesn't work.
outrageous,
It's the
man. Like it's
craziest
just
thing in the world, man.
like people wrote it like it's on the internet. Like, look, I've had some bad takes on the internet, but at least my bad takes are like they're
Educated somehow.
yeah, like
Some fact.
right. Like I'll watch 20 training camp practices and say that the safeties are going to be awesome. But at least I got 20 practices under my belt before I wrote that. At least it wasn't just like at least the thought, like the process of coming to the thought wasn't dumb. Maybe
It was
that
like an
thought.
analytical process that got you to where you are.
Look, I feel a little vindicated because Sean said the other day, Monday when he talked about this game, he's like, coming out of training camp, you wouldn't have thought this about the secondary. I felt a
Mm-hmm.
little vindicated when he said, I was like, all right, like I'm not the only one that like thought these
Right.
guys were
Head
doing well.
coach believes
Yeah,
believe this.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, like that's 20. That's a whole summer. I spent a whole summer thinking about this. Like some people watch Drew for until halftime, and they're like, that's it. Wow, like
I have people telling me like yo, on the pod, you need to, let it fly. And I'm like, it's nothing to let fly. I'm not
oh yeah.
letting anything. Nothing's being like, I don't come on here and hold anything back. It's like these are the takes.
So I don't necessarily blame the fan base, the segment of the fan base either, because like you're living or dying with every throw. And it was, look, I mean, like privately, I'm sitting there like we're texting like, dude, what's going on? Like, is this
Yeah,
real?
yeah,
Like, is there
absolutely.
something happening? Like, so for them to put it out there, there's no, it doesn't matter. Like they aren't on TV talking about stuff. Like it's a different process. Like when it's your job
Yeah.
to analyze something, you need to make sure when you're saying someone's dead that they're dead. Like
Ain't
you
no
can't do
heartbeat.
that after a half. Yeah. Like if I'm just, if I'm a fan of the team just tweeting, like I'm gonna let it fly because it looked like
Yeah,
that. And that was
that's fair.
it was a legitimate thought, but
Yeah.
to legitimize it on like a national TV
NBC
show,
or something or
yeah,
whatever. I
it's
don't know what
crazy. What are
channel.
you
It's just
doing?
bad look, man.
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
you're on there saying like it's time to play Jameis Winston from the 20 to the 20, like come on, man. Like, what are you doing? It's 2 games. It's
And
two
that
games.
and that guy that's with that take, he's like,
He
oh,
wasn't the only one. I was watching a video last night because I was kind of like, it's like, man, like I wonder what some of these people that like I respect are saying. So I was like looking up YouTube clips and like there were many people with similar types of is it time for Jameis? Is it time for Taysom? Like
that's just
it's week 2.
yeah, yeah. It I don't know. It was the weirdest thing I ever heard, man. Not ever, but when I saw it, I was just like, it just felt like a talking point, right? But then I listened to like some of the context of it. Like I can see if ESPN having this big thing going across their screen. Should the Saints move on from Drew Brees? And then some people saying, then you have some guys giving them some reasonable analysis, right? You're just using the headline to get people to watch it. And then it's a little bit of a letdown. Like, oh, we'll give them a chance. But like some of these dudes are flat out, like you said, oh, I think they should
Yeah.
not play Drew Brees between the 20s because he can't throw the ball. And I'm like, what?
And I'm not saying it's smooth sailing from here on out that he'll never have another bad game. I'm just saying that we've definitely seen enough now to know that his talent is not eroded to the point where they can't win games with him.
I mean, if he wasn't that guy last year, he's not the guy this year.
He's leading the league
Right.
in completion percentage.
Like he has again the past.
Right.
As I say, he's the same
They're scoring
guy.
30 a game.
There you go. The point makes itself. The past 4 years, he's been the same guy. Right now, if you think that the guy that he's been the last 3 years is not good enough, then okay, your take is. I understand where you're coming from because you don't think he's good before that. But just like you said, after 2 games, pull the plug. Like, I just think that's a little wild. That's a bit of a wild take.
The problem is he had the 2018 Cowboys game in week 2. And everybody's like, oh, he's old.
There you go.
He's old. Old guy had bad game. Done.
There you go.
And like week 1 wasn't great either, but week 1 wasn't that bad. It's just, his number 1 got taken away. Offense sputtered, didn't have chemistry with the other guys. It was a mediocre performance, but he had that 2018 Cowboys game.
And it was,
just like, that's it.
The takes were all over the place.
Over.
I mean, and look, man, there's some local guys too letting them fly. So, I mean, the takes were like local and national. So
the takes were flying up until like halftime of last week. So
it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
just
some
like
people
chill.
who I like I'll listen to what they got to say, and I think they're respectable people. And I was like, yeah, you're on your own on this one. Like, don't ask me about that because I'm not gonna be there with you. So, but the offense was, again, we were talking about the offense. They were good. Alvin is a mutant. Callaway obviously had a good game. I think the offensive line, I think the run blocking feels like it's trying to get better. I feel like they're leaning a little bit more on the run. I feel like they're dedicating themselves more to the run as a team. And I think if that's something they can build on, I think that'll kind of pay dividends down the road, this season, because I don't know, like, say for instance last year, like, the run game never got good. It was always, it was just if they didn't pass the ball well, then they didn't play a good game. But this year, I feel like that's something that they may be able to hang their hat on some games. And I just think it'll benefit the team because, one, like you said, you don't depend so much on Drew, and you don't put your defense on the field. So that's something I'm gonna be keeping an eye on, on this offense, if they can run the ball, because again, it'll shorten the game, less defensive snaps, less pressure on Drew. Everybody wins there. So
Yeah, Ruiz's highs are high, man. When he's got it going, he looks really good on the inside. I thought he was bad against the Chargers,
he
really
was
good
really
against
bad against the
Detroit.
Chargers.
I thought he was pretty good in this game. I mean, there were a couple plays where there was one play Alvin had like a 30-yard gain and he looked terrible on the play, but like there were 7 or 8 plays where I think he had a key block on a run. So I
I
just
thought
think
he was pretty good this game too.
yeah,
I didn't watch the off. I watched a piece of the offense, and I kind of zeroed in on a certain part. But yeah, I'm with you. I think this was obviously his best game of the year. I'll put it that way.
yeah, it's one of the it might be. Yeah, it's one of the two. I don't know if this one or Detroit. Probably this one. I just think the consistency was more there in this one. But I
Yeah,
do think he's going to get better as the year goes on. He's another guy. Like it's just a weird year for
that's a
him.
good point. That's a good point.
I
I
think that
think.
he was slow picking it up. I think he would admit to that
Mhm.
maybe having some look. He missed 20 days of practice like in a weird year.
That's a good
Like
point too. Yeah, I forgot
yeah.
about that. Yeah, and
So
yeah, no OTs, no training camp, no rookie mini camp.
I saw Sean's comment come up a few times from the draft. Like, we didn't draft this guy to sit. Like, yeah, but he missed 20 days. So like circumstances change. Like, it isn't that simple. Like you
You
gotta
gonna die
make
on that take?
you gotta let this guy get comfortable, man. Let him learn the offense. Like he had a tough he had
Oh
no OTAs.
man.
Like nobody knew they were gonna be like just the way everything. Nobody knew the guy was gonna miss 20 days of practice. That training camp was gonna start in the middle of August. Like
Oh
let's
man,
relax, man.
oh man, dude. Sometimes I tell my wife, "Babe, I'm gonna cook Monday." I'm the cook of the house. I say, "Babe, I'm gonna cook Monday through Thursday," and then sometimes I work till 8 o'clock, and then we gotta go eat out.
Yeah, it just happens, man.
Things happen.
Yeah.
You don't always have control. Tonight I had Panda Express.
Look, people were hot though about that comment, man. Like when he didn't start, I think it
Man,
was the Chargers game. Like I just saw like he was like not starting. I'm like scrolling Twitter and I saw there's like a few different players. Like wow,
people
man, like
giving up on the guy, like, "Oh, he's a bust." I'm like, "Word."
this year is so hard. Like I have no idea where you start drawing conclusions on anything, anybody underperforming. I don't know if you draw conclusions on people overperforming because are they going to regress to the mean? It's just such a
Yeah.
weird year, man. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll say
I don't know how
this.
to judge. Like I'm reluctant to have a take.
I'm with you.
But look, I'll always change my opinion. Like I'll have a take, and if it's wrong, I'm not dying with the take. I'm
Mhm.
look, the safeties aren't good. I'm moving on from that. Like I'm not gonna like keep arguing it. Like okay, we got that one
Right.
wrong. Like that's it. CJ
You move
Spiller,
on.
what? CJ Spiller wasn't the guy. Like
The
you just
thriller,
move on from
man.
it.
The
But
thriller. The thriller.
this year I think I'm just reluctant to be like, this guy's having a bad season. Like it's just like he's having a bad stretch, and we'll see how it
Yeah.
goes.
I mean, shout out to Hot Takes Exposed, man. They're getting a lot of content.
Oh yeah.
Those screenshots, that screenshot folder is full. I ain't trying to be in there.
I got a few. I definitely got a few in there.
Hey, look, man, I'm dodging them. I'm neoing them bullets, man. I don't want none of that smoke at all.
Man.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna do it for us today. The Saints, they play the Bears in Chicago, right?
Yep.
Gosh, yes, in Chicago. I think the game is the afternoon game. So make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys go to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Pick a tier that works best for you. Nick has articles on the site. They're really good. The film studies are, I think they are my official. It was always, it's like always either the rundown or the film studies. I'm like back to the film study. I'll be back. I'll move to the rundown maybe in a couple of weeks. So anyway, go read the articles. There's a lot of information in there. Obviously, the post game articles always come up the night of the game, and just a lot of content. I don't really know any other way to explain it, but that's like the only place I go to get Saints information. Nick he don't give me the underground information no more, so I got to go read it. So make sure you guys go check it out. Make sure you guys follow Nick on Twitter at Nick_Underhill. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Marsh Jr. More importantly, make sure you follow the NewOrleans.Football Twitter account at NOTDOT Football. Subscribe on YouTube. Just search Nick Underhill, 5-star ratings on iTunes. And if you're on Instagram, follow NewOrleans.Football, handle being NewOrleans.Football, one word. So with that said, thank you guys for listening. See you next week. We out.
Hey, and before people say anything, the Saints won games outside last year, so just kill that take before it starts.
That take is coming.